Thank you all for tuning in to WJT 98.3 FM, your voice and music, your station. My name is Jeff Badu, and I'm a parallel entrepreneur and a wealth multiplier. I'm the founder and CEO of Badu Enterprises, LLC, which is a multinational conglomerate in the finance industry. What we do is we provide a suite of financial services, including tax preparation, tax planning, financial coaching, credit repair, and services of that nature. So today we'll be talking about the market. We'll start off with the market report, and then we'll talk about the concept of paying yourself first. It's a very short segment, so it won't take a whole lot of time. Just want to reemphasize the importance of paying yourself first, how to pay yourself first, and ultimately a game plan that you can build in order to actually incorporate that. So before that, let's kick it off with the market report as of August 14, 2020. So literally on my birthday, last Friday. But stock started the week mostly higher as investors anticipated additional virus stimulus relief. Value stocks, industrials, and energy shares outperformed mega cap tech stocks last Monday. And of the benchmark indexes, essentially only the NASDAQ lost value. So it's very surprising, but tech stocks actually lost value on Monday. The S&P 500 closed the day 0.3% higher, marking the 7th consecutive day of positive returns. And I believe today would actually make it the 8th consecutive day, essentially, of positive returns. I'm sorry, we've been on a streak on Mondays. So basically, each Monday you'll notice that we're on this positive streak. So today we actually basically ended up on the higher end as well. The Dow vaulted 1.3%, followed by the Russell 2000, which gained 1%. Treasury yields, crude oil, gold, and the dollar all climbed by the end of trading last Monday. Tech stocks lost value again last Tuesday, dragging the major indexes down. Sectors including travel, automakers, financials, industrials, and energy posted solid gains. And then also, ultimately, the NASDAQ fell the hardest, losing about 1.7%. And then let's see what else happened. Then followed by the S&P 500, and then the Russell 2000, and then also the Global Dow, which lost 0.4%. So Tuesday wasn't really all that hot. I mean, it was a fairly down day. Nothing too major, just a down day a little bit. The Global Dow 0.8% advanced, as did the dollar and treasury yields. Crude oil prices fell by nearly 1%. S&P 500 continued to push higher last Wednesday, reaching a record high at one point, only to drop back by the end of the day. Nevertheless, large caps fared well as the S&P 500 closed up 1.4%, while the Dow finished ahead 1.1%. Tech stocks rebounded, driving the NASDAQ higher 2.1%. The small caps of the Russell 2000 closed 0.5% higher, and the Global Dow rose 1.1%. And for those that are just now tuning in, welcome to the show Money Talks on WJT 98.3 FM, your voice and music, your station. We're live on the radio, 98.3 FM in Chicago, and we're also streaming on Facebook and Instagram. So we're on 3 different platforms today. For those that don't know, that's what we typically do every week. So let's continue. For the first time in a while, weekly unemployment claims were below 1 million. So that was pretty good. The news wasn't enough to motivate investors as stocks tumbled last Thursday. Only the NASDAQ pushed slightly higher, gaining 0.3% on the day. The Dow dropped 0.3%. Both the S&P 500 and the Russell 2000 fell 0.2%. And the Global Dow dipped 0.5%. Treasury yields spiked. Crude oil and the dollar retreated. Energy, financials, real estate, and industrials had a rough day, while mega cap and technology stocks fared well. Now let's talk about what happened Friday. So equities closed last Friday on a sour note, tainting what was otherwise a solid week in the market, the S&P 500 fell less than 0.1% after nearing a record high during the day. The Dow inched ahead 0.1%, while the NASDAQ, the Russell 2000, and the Global Dow actually lost value. Utilities and healthcare led the decline while energy shares advanced. Several European nations and New Zealand have reported spikes. So that's important. They reported spikes in the number of reported virus cases. Investors are getting fewer positive vibes about a new round of virus-related stimulus. So stimulus talks are basically on hold right now, unfortunately. If you're expecting a $1,200 stimulus check, you just have to be cool for a little bit. But basically, they were expecting something to come before the end of the month, which is highly unlikely. We might have to wait for next month for a new round of stimulus, including the stimulus checks, unemployment, just different programs that the government offers. For example, the second round of PPP loans. So overall, I mean, talks have stalled a little bit, and it's not looking too good as far as getting something approved, like very soon. But I'm sure the government knows this. They absolutely need to get something approved. They need to quit butting heads, basically, and ultimately come to a deal at the end of the day. Because people need it. People are very desperate right now when it comes to stimulus, and it's completely understandable why that is. The virus is truly impacting businesses and then also impacting individuals. The good thing is states and local city departments, for example, they do have their own stimulus programs. For example, Illinois came out with the grant. It's a $5,000 grant that you can apply for in order to subsidize rent if you're behind on rent. So, for example, all of my tenants in Chicago basically applied for it. So it's definitely something to take advantage of if you're behind on rent. If you're behind on mortgage payments, Illinois is giving out about $15,000 as a grant for mortgages starting next Monday. So although the feds haven't gotten their lives together, the states and the local city departments, I guess they've somewhat got their lives together. So that's definitely something to look out for. So it's not just the feds, the federal, that provides stimulus. It's also the states, the local, the cities, and also the counties as well. But ultimately, it appears that any financial help from Congress will have to wait until September. So unfortunately, we do have to wait until next month for any new stimulus. So get ready for next month. It will be action-packed. I know for me, it'll be a busy month. We have tax season part 2, basically extension season, coming to an end for the pass-through returns, partnerships, S corporations. And then we have the October 15th extended deadline. So it's about to be a busy few months for me personally. But I'm ready for it. My team is ready. We're ready to help people prosper, and we're ready to help ourselves prosper as well. But despite last Friday's downturn, the market enjoyed another positive week of growth. Each of the benchmark indexes essentially posted gains, while the Dow and the Global Dow leading the way. Value stocks and industrials outperformed megatechs for the week, so that's a bit of a surprise. Treasury yields surged as prices plunged, so they have an inverse relationship. As yields go up, prices go down. As consumers' prices continue to climb following July gains in the Consumer Price Index, CPI, which is typically a great indication for inflation, by the way. And then retail sales, as well as producer prices. So let me just see here. Now let's talk about where crude oil ended up last week. Crude oil went up from $41.45 per barrel to $42.18 per barrel. Price of COMEX gold went down $20.41.30 per ounce to $19.54.10 per ounce. So that's a first in a long time that gold actually dropped. Gold was on a rise. So far this year, the Dow Jones is only down 2.13%, so it's actually recovering a lot. The NASDAQ is up 22.81%. So although the NASDAQ took a lot of heat this past week, it is still up 22.81%, far, far ahead of anything else, any other sector this year. S&P 500 is up 4.40%. The Russell 2000 is down 5.43%, which makes sense because it's composed of some quote-unquote small businesses in there. Global Dow is down 6.21%, and then the federal funds rate is still at 0%. So what to look for this week? This week's economic data focuses on the housing market for July, so that's going to be very important to look at. Existing home sales surged in June of 2020, and then basically climbing over 20% from May's total. July's figures may not be so robust, but should continue the positive trend in home sales. So overall, we're expecting good data from the July home sales. And somebody asked the question, did the value of the dollar go up or down? I don't know, because that's not in the report. So usually that's not a data that I personally actually track on this show. But with that being said, let's talk about the concept of basically paying yourself first. Putting your needs ahead of your bills, putting you as an individual first before any other financial obligation. So I'll basically get into the concept of how to get your mind right when it comes to that, because for me, I at first was a little confused about the concept. And we won't spend that much time today on it. We'll only spend maybe 30 minutes or so. But basically, when I heard the term paying yourself first, I thought it was a bit of a selfish term. I thought it was like, hey, don't pay your bills, or basically just be quote-unquote selfish, for lack of a better term. But that's not what it means. It basically means putting your financial needs ahead of others first. So that quote-unquote emergency that people demand for you to pay, that quote-unquote bill that's so important that you can't even start saving for your future. Basically, the concept of paying yourself first is put the money towards the savings first, or investment account first, before you pay the bills, before you pay the taxes. Even the taxes, even as a W-2 employee, I'll show you what I mean in a second. Basically, put those things first, treat it as if that was a bill, and you will get far, far ahead in life. I guarantee you. This concept changed everything for me, because the thing was, we were paying bills first. Or let me put it this way. As a W-2 employee, when I was back in the day, back in 2015, I was paying the IRS first, so paying taxes first, then paid my bills, then money ended up in my saving or investment account. What you should do is you should actually flip that completely around and save first or invest first, then you pay the taxes, then you go ahead and actually pay the bills. So the bills come last in this world, in the paying yourself first world. If you need the full-blown concept of this, please read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and even Cash Flow Quadrant, which is the part 2. So Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is a great book for you to check out. It's the book that changed everything for me as far as mindset. Mindset is everything, to be honest. If you don't have the right mindset, you won't be able to get too far. Yeah, execution is important, but how can you execute without the mind to even execute? So I always say mindset is such a critical component that you really, really have to pay attention to. Now, when we say pay yourself first, you must be able to save money. Americans lack this, especially in a time like COVID-19. Americans, or the world actually, was terrible at saving, and now we have this COVID-19 pandemic. I do believe in some areas savings have actually gotten better, because people can't go out and spend money on lavish and extravagant things, food, boats, and all that. I mean, some people still can, but I know at the beginning of the pandemic, back in March and April, it was very tough to spend money anywhere. Basically only the grocery stores in Chicago were open. Everything else was shut down. So you couldn't go to the mall. You couldn't even go to a restaurant unless you were ordering out. So that's something to keep in mind there. So you must be able to save money. Saving money is important. Anybody that tells you you should not be saving money is lying to you. Is giving you a blatant lie to you. And this skill set is lacked big time. This is the reason. This is probably the number one reason, actually the number 2 reason, that a lot of people are in financial distress, one missed paycheck away from going bankrupt. So it's very important to be able to save money. And I'll tell you guys exactly how much you should be saving. And then we'll go through a method that will put your saving needs ahead of anybody else's needs, including the IRS and your bills. So one thing I've learned in life is that it's very important to establish habits early. So establish a good habit early in the game. So a good habit, for example, taking out the garbage when it's full. That's a good habit. Showering every day. That's a good habit. Brushing your teeth every day. That's a good habit. Wearing your mask when you're going into public places. That's a good habit. Saving money. Good habit. Putting your savings or putting your investments on autopilot. Good habit. Putting things on your calendar when they're important. Good habit. These are all habits that you develop and establish over time. The sooner you develop a habit, the better off you'll become, or the better off you'll be. So for me, I've learned to develop certain habits. For example, I put my saving and investing needs ahead of my bills because I'm on an aggressive retire early plan. As a matter of fact, technically speaking, I am retired. But, however, I want to get, it might sound a little weird, but I want to get even more retired, meaning more financially free, more financially comfortable to make certain decisions. So for me, my habit is to save and invest first before doing anything else. Before paying a bill, I'm going to invest money into my TD Ameritrade account or my Robinhood account or my real estate investment account, as opposed to me paying that bill first. In my budget, in my monthly budget, you will see a number for saving/investing in there. If you don't do these things, it will become a problem because you'll only be in the habit of paying the IRS and paying your bills. And that's it. You'll continuously walking around a hamster wheel, just like cash flow quadrant, just like the whole game cash flow, where you start off in the hamster wheel, you start off in a rat race, and you just keep going all around, circle by circle, until you figure it out that, man, in order to truly be financially free, I need to invest money. There's no way around it. You can make $1 million a year off your W-2 job. You will lose about 50% to the IRS in the States. So $500,000 is out the door immediately. You will lose another 20 to 30% due to your lifestyle, maybe your house, maybe bills, whatever it is. And you'll only have maybe 20 to 30% to live off on, if anything, or to actually enjoy, or to say that that's yours. I know people that make millions of dollars but are still broke. You probably wonder, how in the world is that possible? It's because they never established the habit of investing first, saving first, before paying somebody else. It's a concept. It's a mindset. It is a habit that you develop over time. So get into the habit early. Take the next 30 days and get into this habit that I'm about to tell you. So pay yourself first. It is very, 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 very important. How much do you pay yourself? Or what's a good saving plan to have? You should have at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses saved in the bank at all times. During the pandemic, you need to have 6 months. Very simple. Your monthly income is $3,000. Your monthly expenses are $1,000. Your disposable income is $2,000. $3,000 minus $1,000 is $2,000. And for simplicity, let's not factor in, or let's say these are after-tax amounts. So what you need to have in your bank today, right now, is $6,000. $1,000 times 6. And the reason why we go to full 6 is because we're in a pandemic. We're in uncertain times. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, yet alone next year. So we need to have 6 months ready in the bank to cover our expenses in case we lose our jobs, in case our business goes out of business, God forbid. Thank God for stimulus packages. Or something happens, right? Something that's unexpected, a quote-unquote emergency. And I tell people emergencies happen almost every 5 minutes nowadays, but don't let other people's emergencies throw you off for your own emergencies, because not every emergency is truly an emergency. Something might be an emergency to somebody else, but that's not an emergency to you. Like if somebody says, hey, I need this done right away, that's not your emergency. That is their emergency. That's their problem they need to deal with. If you can help them, fine. do it. But if not, tell them you have your own emergencies to attend to. I literally had to teach my family this because they were putting their emergency needs ahead of mine until they realized that I'm building a business, I'm building an empire, and I cannot afford to have other people's emergencies ahead of my own emergencies. So put your own emergency needs first. Put your 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in the bank first before doing anything. So before you invest into something, before you go out and buy that luxurious thing, make sure you have, nowadays, it's 6 months worth of expenses in the bank. If you don't have 6 months of expenses, then start working towards that. If your disposable income is $500 a month, well, maybe put $250 in the bank for the next 10 months to get to your 6 months. All right, so it is very important to make sure that you have enough cash in the bank, and I mean liquid cash nowadays. Solid cash, cold hard cash that you can hold on to. And this is a personal testimonial, by the way. I didn't used to be the best when it comes to saving money, even when I started the business, because the thing was I just couldn't sustain enough. You know, nowadays I'm able to save comfortably because the businesses are actually generating profits. So that's something important to note. And we have a question: how much a month estimated should be saved to retire by 62? I would have to run the numbers on that. I'm sorry, I don't have the calculator with me. But if you want, you can. If you go on Google right now and search time value of money calculator, there's something that you can actually go into, plug in the numbers. It'll say what's the starting, what's the ending, how much do you want to see. So in any financial calculation, there can only be one unknown. So it's not about how much you should be saving monthly. It's about how much money do you need at the end of a period of time, and then you back your way into how much you should save monthly. So in reality, you need about $3 million in order to retire, quote unquote, comfortably. As a matter of fact, they said $5 million, but I'll just give you some slack and say it's $3 million. You need at least $3 million in order to retire comfortably, quote unquote. And by the time I retire, that number would have been pushed up to about 5 to 10 million. Some people are like, wow, that's a large number. $1 million is not a lot of money. Trust me, it is not a lot of money. Now, if you're talking about back in the day, 10 years, 20 years ago, that was a ton of money. Nowadays, $1 million is not a whole lot of money. Trust me. It's simply not. Back in the day, making $100,000 a year was a whole lot of money. Nowadays, making $100,000 a year is not a whole lot of money. It's a great and comfortable living, right? It is great and it is awesome living, but it is not a whole lot of money. It is above average, and it is beyond what a lot of people can achieve. But don't let numbers like 6 figures or $100,000, don't let old school numbers scare you into new school. New school is much different. If you're talking $1 billion or 10 million, now that's a lot of money. $1 million is not a lot of money. It's actually not. As a matter of fact, by the time you retire, you should have $3 million in the bank. And that's as straightforward as it can be. Because think about it. If you retire at 60, let's just say, and your life expectancy is 90, you need 30 years worth of money that you don't have to work for in order to sustain, just to live. We're not even talking lavish and extravagant trips, going to Cuba and Paris and all that. We're just talking survival. So think about it. If you got 30 years to live and you retire at 60, you need quite a lot of money just to be able to retire comfortably. So that is something important to note. Now, as far as this 3 to 6 months, let's get back on topic here. As far as this 3 to 6 months, remember nowadays it's 6 months. We can have it in a high interest bearing account such as an Ally, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, something that's yielding above 1%. If you can get above inflation, great. If not, I mean, oh well. So Ally Bank and Marcus by Goldman Sachs typically offer you high interest rate accounts because, of course, what they do is they take that money and they invest it. Or they lend it out to people so they can make more money. That's how banks make money, in case you didn't know. So they're happy to pay you 1%. They'll make 10% off your 1%. They'll lend it to people like myself at a higher interest rate, and then guess what I do? I turn around and make more money off of that money. So money is really a thing that just circulates in motion. That's why I always tell people money is not really, money is merely a tool that can help you get the things you need in life. The concept of wealth, though, is a whole different thing. Money itself is just paper. It's just paper that circulates in the air. But when you're talking wealth, wealth is something that is built. Wealth is something that is passed down. Wealth is something that you own, that you can say it's yours. But when it comes to money, the physical paper dollars, I don't even carry that much on me nowadays. It is merely paper, especially the U.S. dollar. U.S. dollar is actually worthless if you really think about it. I'm not saying don't go out and make money, but just understand the paper you hold in your hand is actually worthless from a financial standpoint. Like if you truly think about it from a theoretical standpoint. So once you get to your 6 months, let's say that you've actually gotten to your 6 months, right? Then ultimately what you can do is you can take the excess money. So now let's say your disposable income is $500 a month, and you've gotten your $6,000 or so worth of disposable income. Worth of your expenses saved in a bank. Now you don't need to save any more money after that. Now you need to start investing. You need to put into retirement accounts. Now let me take a step back though. If you have a job, if you work a W-2 job, you probably have a 401k. A 401k is a retirement plan that allows you to contribute a certain amount of dollars, and typically your employer will match you up to a certain amount. So that you should be taking full advantage of. So this whole saving thing, I'm talking about after you've actually taken advantage of your 401k account at work. That you should take advantage of. And typically we save on an after tax. Over 90% of Americans are saving incorrectly for retirement right now. So don't be the 90%, be the 10%. Save after tax for retirement because tax rates are very low. And with all that's going on right now, tax rates will go higher in the future. And also your money can grow tax-free if you put it into an after-tax account as opposed to a pre-tax. If they'll only match the pre-tax, then so be it. It's free money. If they're going to match you 50% up to 6%, if you put in 6%, you get an extra 3%. For you not to do that will be literally you opening up a garbage can, getting money and just dumping it in there. That's what that would mean. I have a client right now who says he doesn't take advantage of his match because he wants to pay off his student loans. I'm like, why? Why would you do such a thing? You're losing out on a 50% return on investment of money that's not even your own. That's your employer's money. They're matching you 50% up to 6%. So why would you do that? You're missing out on 50% return plus the time value of money, the gains that are going on top of that. And you can get some of this money tax-free. You can put it into a Roth account. His employer allowed him to do an after-tax, a Roth account. Roth and after-tax are usually used interchangeably. So the first thing is you max out any employer retirement plans that have a match. If they don't have a match, then you can go to the 6-month strategy. So you can skip the retirement plan at work and go to the 6-month strategy. And then you go to the 6 months, get 6 months worth of money saved in your bank. One way to do this is to automate the process. The more you can automate money, the better. So just like your bills are on auto pay, make sure your savings are on auto invest or auto save. So if your paychecks are $3,000 a month and you need $500 a month for the next 10 months to get to your savings goal, then simply click 2 buttons. $500 savings every single month, and it comes out on the first of every month, or you can even break it out into 2. So you can do $250 every so typically it's bi-weekly nowadays, so $250 every 2 weeks. You can have it on auto. If your bills are on auto pay, why shouldn't your savings or your investments? It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense at all. Why in the world would you have your bills on auto pay but you don't have your own investments and your own savings on auto pay? Does it theoretically make sense that you're paying somebody before you pay yourself? It doesn't. So put your savings on automation. They have these apps. Chase, for example. Acorns. They have these savings apps that allow you to automatically save money. Now we're talking about savings here. We're not talking about the investment side yet. So we're talking about saving. Now, before you do anything, you must know what disposable income means, which we covered. But let me just repeat that. Disposable income is money that's left over after you subtract your expenses from your income. So it's income minus expenses equals disposable income. It's money that you have to dispose of, although it does not have to be disposed of. So if you've saved at your employer plan for retirement and you've maxed out the contributions as far as the match is concerned, you got your 6 months in the bank, and then now you need to invest. First type of account, Roth IRA. Roth IRA stands for individual retirement account. It means it's after tax. You can put up to $6,000 in there. And oh, by the way, I always encourage my clients to get married, because when you get married, that number doubles to $12,000 for you and your spouse. And then the health savings account. So health savings account, HSA, typically offered at work. Highly recommend you take advantage of it if you're eligible for one. It can be treated just like a Roth IRA, where the money you put in is actually tax deductible, unlike the Roth, but the money grows tax free. And then when you take the money out, you don't have to pay any taxes on it. It's a triple tax benefit account. You can put up to about $3,500, $3,550 per person in your HSA account. So these are all powerful accounts. So you have the 401k, the savings account, the Roth IRA, the HSA. If you have these 4 accounts, you're doing pretty good for yourself. At a minimum, you should be saving 10% towards retirement. However, me personally, somebody who's on an aggressive retirement plan, I'm at 20%. I'm aggressively saving 20% for retirement every single year because I'm on an early retirement track. I want to be to the point where I can basically say, you know what? I'm just taking off for the next 3 to 4 months. Emails are off, phone is off. For the next 3 to 4 months, I'll be in Paris and don't ever need to worry about money. And to be quite frankly, I can do that today if I wanted to. However, I personally don't feel comfortable enough doing that, just because I want to make sure I keep building the empire to the point where some of the businesses can fully self-sustain, which we haven't gotten to that point yet. They're almost there. They're about 1 to 2 years away. So to me, the formal definition of retirement is when you're making enough money you don't have to work for, so passive income, to the point where you can cover your bills and your lifestyle. Me personally, I've been able to achieve that already. But to me, true retirement is where ultimately, yeah, you have the passive income, but turn some of your active income into passive income to the point where you're basically, you have more than enough, way more than enough, in order to truly live that lifestyle that you want. So in general, so let's just say that you need, basically you should go on that 6-month saving plan. I think it's very good to do. You set a certain target amount based off your expenses. So if your expenses are $1,000 a month, you say 1,000 times 6, which is 6,000, and then you take your income and expenses, see what your disposable income is, and then see how much you need in order to basically get to that 6,000 over the next, let's just say, 3 months. You can set your own target. 3 to 6 months is typically the target savings time period that you should aim for. And then once you've gotten past that goal, congratulations. Then it's time to start investing into a Roth IRA, HSA, or health savings account. Very good things to take advantage of. Very important, establish a system of automation. So try to automate the process as much as possible. Sites such as Acorns allow you to automate your savings now. Acorns has a savings account. So if you need something that's outside of your typical bank, do an Acorns account, Acorns Later account. And then they also have the Acorns investment account. So once you've gotten past the 6 months, start putting your investments on automation. You'll be surprised how far $5 a day can get you. How far a Starbucks cup of coffee can get you. $5 a day invested over the next 40 years, earning 9%, will get you $700,000 in your bank account. Let me repeat that one more time for those that didn't catch it. $5 a day invested over 40 years, earning 9% will get you $700,000 in your bank account. Everybody that's listening right now can invest $5 a day. What does that mean? Everybody that's on today can have $700,000 in your bank account 40 years from now. So if you need a retirement plan, there you go. Now, what happens when you double the money? Does it go to 1.4 million? No, it doesn't. Due to the beauty of compound interest, it's actually more than 1.4 million. The number doesn't just double. The number might even triple because of the velocity of money. Albert Einstein once said, compound interest is the most powerful force on the universe. And it is very, 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 very important. So that is something to keep in mind when it comes to that. Me personally, that's what I started doing, $5 a day. And then I went to $10 a day. And I just kept doubling. Then I said, you know what would happen if I did $150 a day? Every single day, I invested $150 and then doubled that amount of money every single year. Because, I mean, basically, over the trend, let's just say that my income was doubling every single year. And, of course, I doubled my tithes every single year as well. So don't forget to give back. But what if you did that and you can just automate that? When I started thinking about it and how easy it was too, you just click 2 to 3 buttons and then just let it be. That's powerful to me. That is very powerful. You don't have to do any work. Some people are like, let me just start picking these stocks. No, there's no stock picking here. This is putting money into a fund, an index fund, an S&P 500 index fund, Vanguard fund, for example, where you just say, I want to invest X amount of dollars per day. So daily is typically good, over 40 years. And then typically it earns, let's just say 9%. And it'll tell you how much you can earn by that. When I started doing that, I said, wow, investing is powerful. Although I'm very heavy into the real estate. My game is real estate typically when it comes to investing. But at the same time, I'm still doing my $150 a day. And my goal is to double that every single year. So if it's $150 a day this year, next year is $300 a day. Then it goes to $600 and $1,200 every single day. That's the power of money. If you invested $1,200 a day for the next 40 years, you would have quite a ton of money. You might actually be a billionaire by 40 years. I mean, it's crazy what money can truly do. And when you think about it, it's such simple steps. The sum might sound like a lot to somebody, but $5 a day, trust me, anybody that's listening right now can do $5 a day. Anybody that's listening right now on this radio show can do $5 a day. I guarantee you that. But when you start adding it up into $10, $15, $20, the stuff adds up. It's called compound interest, the most powerful force on the universe, according to Albert Einstein. So that's pretty much it. I mean, basically the concept is instead of putting your bills on automation or autopay, we all got our bills on autopay. Why not autopay your investments? Why not autopay yourself? Why is it that we always tend to forget about ourselves when it comes to our own money? Why are we feeding somebody else before we feed ourselves? It doesn't make any sense. Are you scared that if you don't pay that bill, that person's going to come after you? Yeah, that's a valid fear. And remember, we're not talking about not paying your bills. We're just talking about prioritization. Prioritize yourself first before you go out and pay somebody else's bill. Or before you go out and pay somebody else in general. When you start establishing that habit, that concept, it will take you very far in life, and it will establish that track record that, hey, I have something to show for it. A lot of people, even people making millions of dollars every year, have nothing to show for it. So it is very important that you put these things in place, you have something to show for it, and ultimately you just keep at it. And then teach your kids, teach your loved ones, teach your spouse, teach everybody in your family these habits. It is these types of habits that will get you to wealth, true wealth. We're not talking money here, we're talking true wealth that allows you to build and sustain over the years. So with that being said, I'd like to end it here today. Thank you all for tuning in to WGHT 98.3 FM, your voice, your music, your station. My name is Chef Badu, and I look forward to continuously delivering you awesome content. Thank you.